Hello everybody, this is going to be the Academy video. I've been waiting a long time to make this video. I love Academy, as I'm sure some of you guys watching this definitely also enjoy watching Witch from Mercury. Just got done coaching a bunch. It's been a pretty busy week, so this video has been pushed back to now. What I want to say is if you're interested in coaching, reach out to me at CoachWing0 on Discord. Go check out my other videos, like my last video I show off my testimonials and stuff like that. So if you guys are new to this video, new to my channel, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and go look at my other content. I've got deck tech videos on almost every single deck. Not all of them are going to be the most competitive new type regional winner decks. But I play everything. I coach everything, and this is why I make this content, because I try to give you guys all the deck lists that are possible beforehand. And the whole reason I started this on YouTube was to get to the point where I was like, hey, everybody's learning Gundam very slowly. The meta is evolving extremely slow. I want to get the information out there as a competitive player, as a coach for trading card games and other games for like a long time. I've been playing trading card games since I was like 6 years old. I want to ensure that everybody is getting the information quickly. We should not be spending multiple months or a whole set goes by before red white is discovered, before anything in the game is like picked up and played with, because everybody thinks it's a top two decks with the same decks. Either play these or lose. It's not true. And I've been proving that with my videos, with like the Lupus deck that I made, with the burst mode style decks that I've been making since day one, with either red decks or wing burst mode and so on, right? So there's lots of decks to play. The meta right now finally is opening up, so there's tons of decks to play. Are you going to go win the world championship of Gundam with Academy? No, we're not going to do that. You know, are we going to go win our new type challenge with Academy? Yes, we can 100% do that. Is it going to take you a few tries? Sure, but we can actually absolutely accomplish that. Are you stuck playing purple? Are you stuck playing like white Kira blockers? No, you're absolutely not stuck playing these decks. You can play what you like. You just have to make it work and understand that there's predators out there that destroy your deck and will win the game. And there's people that you can actually prey on and beat consistently, especially blockers. And we gotta kind of say that, okay, aggro might be the dominant thing, might be broken for multiple sets now. There's no real solution to it. And if we skew too hard to try and beat aggro, we're gonna lose to like the defensive decks, right? So that out of the way, uh, quickly, if you guys can, just go subscribe. And if you guys like Academy, have your own decks as I go through all the different ideas, or found something very interesting or things you haven't thought about, or enjoyed this video, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys liked, what you guys didn't like. And it's going to be a long one, so, buckle down. This is not going to be a deck tech. I will drop a few decks in the description that I have from EX Burst. So if you guys just want to see a few different decks, go check out those links and go look through them. But we're not going to be covering any deck techs in this video, so just telling you guys that so you guys don't sit here for an hour and try to scroll through. There's going to be no deck techs, okay? So, Academy, let's talk about it. We're going to be starting off with the key cards that I think make up every single Academy deck that I make, essentially, and that you guys should be looking at first of all. Then we'll talk about some of the other Academy cards that we have to add to the deck. So, let's talk about Soletta. Soletta is a 1-2 pilot. 2 HP pilots are stronger than 2 AP pilots in general, because, well, your units will survive a lot longer, right? You can pump up your HP, and it's a lot easier to find AP in a game like Rozelle's and bigger units than it is to find a way to get your HP higher. Generally, the only way to get your HP higher is by putting a 2-1 pilot on it, so you get 1 more health. But having 2 more HP gives you a big break points where Amuro can outrest you because it's 5 or less HP, and it allows you to trade and then still survive with potentially 2 health or 3 health. Soletta's ability is extremely unique in the game, where she's the only one that can reset your resources for you, and that makes her extremely powerful. That basically makes her unique. If something is unique, it becomes powerful. In a game that's based around resources and resource management, Soletta is going to be like an A+ pilot. Okay, she's always been my second best pilot for me in the game, and just because we can't gain the full usage of her, I think just face value, she's really, really strong. And she links with basically everything Academy, so that's awesome. So the second pilot we have in the deck is going to be Ellen. You don't have to build your deck around Ellen, but I want to get this out of the way now because this is what Academy lacks, having the ability to have +2 AP. Because Sleda is fragile, or not fragile, but she doesn't pump your units up to break bases or kill certain units. Ellen is the only other, or Elon, whatever you want to call him. He's the only other person that can actually pump your units up to a significant breakpoint and crash, and then get to 6, get to 7, and so on. And he's powerful for that reason. But when you start mixing up colors, he basically gets removed from the deck because every other pilot in the game that is basically very good or links with strong units has 2 AP already. So we have no use for him unless you're playing like more of a pure Academy deck, or you're going to bump up the number of pilots you want to run to like 11 or 12, where he would come in so you can link with your Gundam Ferrax and your Academy links. Okay, so let's put him here. Next, we have the best units in Academy. Okay, so Michaelis is a staple where Michaelis basically goes in every single Academy deck. Why? Because just like Clan or any other deck that doesn't have a lot of, like, we don't play GMs. Okay, if you don't play GMs and all of a sudden you don't want to play blockers like Lifritz, right? Then Michaelis is our only other option. It's a level 3/2 cost, so we go second. We can play this on turn 2. We go first. We can play this on turn 3, and we can even then next turn play another unit and link it with Soletta. So Michaelis is our better and better like vanilla unit, except it actually has an ability, which is really good for us, that it gets +1/+1 and becomes a 4/4 once you have 4 more command cards in your crash. This isn't basically what Academy is built around, is commands and then linking these units with your pilots and then getting resources back from Soletta so you can activate your unforeseen incidents or any of their command cards or play more units on top of more units. So Michaelis is kind of like the bread and butter best unit in Academy, because even in the late game, if you draw this, sometimes it would suck to play like a 3/3, but it becomes a 4/4, which is a strong unit. That's like an Ale Strike. So a 4 cost Ale Strike with an ability, all of a sudden we get it for basically only 2 cost. Okay, so really, really strong. And it can link with any of these units to hit 5 or 6 breakpoints to crash into bases. Generic link with Academy also makes it useful. Then we have the second best stat line in the game, I think. Everybody thought Results were the best. I don't think Results are the best because, again, we can find AP very easily, and Wing Zero exists, and ping damage exists. So 4 HP is way more healthier and way more stronger to me than anything else. So having a level 4/2 cost and having the reverse result stat lines being a 3/4, Gundam Aerial bit on form is basically a staple to all of my Academy decks, because playing multiple of these means that Wing Zero cannot kill us, and linking it with Soletta onto the bit form means we're a 4/6, which is ridiculous, right? That's like Athranzala MA mode level, where we can now get multiple uses out of Soletta, and we're not afraid to like swing into stuff and stick around, and they're gonna have to deal with it by having something strong and high AP. The next card is going to be where we get into like the 2 other options. Okay, so Gundam Ferract is our mid-game beater. One of the only reasons that I don't like this card, right, compared to the bit form, is they both have the best stat line for like level 4 essentially, but one costs 3. Because it costs 3, we can't play 2 of these in the same turn. We can play 2 bit forms in the same turn and kind of go wide and establish the board, but we can't play 2 Gundam Ferract. We can link the Ferract and swing and do things, and it's got a good ability where it reduces an opponent's attack by 2, but it only goes up to usually 4 when you're linking with Soletta. At that point, I basically don't play it in a lot of decks because it can't kill anything bigger than 4, and it basically gets wiped off the floor once they start playing like Ale Strike links with Kira and Sword Strikes, and they can just run this over because it has limited AP and only 6 HP is nice, but once you hit that breakpoint, everything starts dying. So I don't play this as much, but if you're playing a beatdown variant, which is more lower to the ground, the Gundam Ferract can be an auto-include, and this is where I like it. So if you are trying to play a much more rushy beatdown deck, where your goal is to play multiple bodies and then beat your opponent's shields down, you're going to enjoy Gundam Ferract a lot. If you are having the ability to rest your opponent's units, and that's one of the problems with Gundam Ferract, is you play him, you link it with Academy, Soletta, or any other pilot, and all of a sudden you can't attack into anything, and your opponent's not going to swing their GMs because they don't want them to get eaten up by Ferract. all of a sudden you're sitting there like, okay, I can attack your shields, but then you'll link something and kill my Ferrat because I have no blockers. You can play blockers, but then all of a sudden you're losing value on the blockers anyway. So it's like, what's the point? You don't really get the minus AP value out of this, right? Except for the turn that you link it, and then you can kind of get value. If you take any amount of damage onto this thing, it becomes pingable and easy to kill. So I don't run it for that reason. Except for in like aggressive beatdown decks where we're trying to play multiple level 4s, level 5s, and then we're kind of capped out at level 6 at the most, but level 5, level 6, okay? So that's where this is nice. Now, Gundam Ferract, the GDO2 one, that's level 5, 3 cost, 5, 4, is one of the best cards for its stat in the game. There's a new one coming out, which also includes the keyword blocker on it for some reason, which just basically says I'm better than all of the other level 5, 3 cost cards. So basically, it's just straight up power creep. Unfortunately, I wish this thing had any ability that would make this thing so much better, and it doesn't. But for what it is, the reason why this card is so powerful and why I include it in every single Academy deck pretty much is because for a single card, we get 5 AP, which can crack shields. For a single card, we can swing it into our opponent's any red or purple link, and we can swing 5 damage into their link unit and take it out. Like Kshatriyas and even Ale Strike, for example, we can take out with this unit. We can take out our opponent's Gundams, whether it be NT Gundam, level 4 Gundam, and so on. Right? CB units we can also take out with Ferract in terms of the purple side. So that's why I like this card a lot. Any deck that can utilize a level 5, 3 cost, 5, 4 stat line, basically any deck that can use 5 AP on one single card, is very, very effective. And Academy struggles baseline on trying to deal high AP worth of damage to something, which is where Gundam Ferrat kind of made the difference when it was released in GDO2. It was unique. GDO3, there's a lot more now that have the same vanilla stat line as this, and we're going to get more down the line. But pretty much this kind of solved the problem of having that low AP. That we otherwise would have to like include things like Gundam Amuro or something that would increase our AP by dealing damage to ourselves, like with Iron and Blood, basically giving ourselves plus 3 AP, or having blockers and running heroes and naval bombardments, right? So that's where Gundam Ferrex are really, really strong, and it can basically trade 1 for 2 all day. And that's also where, because we're using unforeseens and command cards, we could be minusing ourselves, or our lower AP units won't finish something off, and we kind of got to trade effectively. Gundam Ferrex can make up the difference. Our opponent playing blockers also enables Gundam Ferrex to swing at their shields. They're not going to block it because Lifrits and Rig Diaz's can't kill this. So they'll basically take the hit, or they're going to have to give up one of the units and give us a card advantage. So Gundam Ferrex, I think, is super important in Academy. Our final card that I feel like is a staple in Academy is Overflowing Affection, because we are trying to, number one, find our links, find the pieces that we need, and fill up the graveyard for Michaelis. You don't have to run a lot of command cards, but Academy is based around having command cards, and we know this because we play, well, we don't play, but we have Gundam Aerial Rebuild, right? This is the main card that came out in GDO 1, and this card basically is trying to retrieve commands back from our graveyard to our hand, and which basically tells us the theme of Academy. Theme of Academy is play commands, play units, link a lot, and you know, we have some AP reduction from the bases, from the units. We have resource management from Soletta, and then we also have command cards coming back to us from Rebuild. We also have a lot of command pilots that we can play that we also want to utilize down the line. Once we get like, you know, a lot more cards coming down the road in like a year or the next set, for example, we're getting a lot. So we know that theme of Academy is built around commands. At the moment, there's no command card that is kind of worth playing that's level 5 that is going to be super, super powerful for us. Like, one of the best things we can bring back to our hand is basically like Unforeseen Incident or Striker Pack. Striker Pack being basically another body we can play on the board later into the game, or an Overflowing Affection, so we can go dig into our link to win the game with that, or play additional units out. Besides that, we don't really get to use Rebuild in any significant way. It also has like a very weak stat line, where if we link with Sleda, it's only a 6/6, which is not super strong. And a lot of things in the game that are really, really strong are generally around the 7/7, right? Or they have 7 HP or 7 AP, and they can deal with a lot more things. And have a lot stronger abilities that directly impact your opponent's board rather than giving yourself a command card that might not be super useful. Um, Now, ideally, you want to be playing this and then getting a one-cost command back to your hand, because when you declare an attack on level 6, linking Soletta, you'll get the one resource open again from Soletta's ability, which will allow you to play a one-cost resource. It's honestly not the best because we don't have anything super, super crazy at the moment. So down the line, when we get a level 5 command, which maybe costs 5 resources and is ridiculously powerful, this card will see a lot more play. And it's cool. Okay. The next I want to talk about is Permit Score 6. This card is our other Sletta link, and this card I found in GDO 1, GDO 2 was very powerful. Okay, it wasn't very powerful, but it was a strong card, right? People were not playing this. You would see it sometimes in like top regional lists, like as a 1 of or 2 of new type challenges. And the reason this card wasn't played was again because that low AP count. You link it with Sletta, it's only a 5/6. 6 HP is nice, but around the time you hit level 5, level 6, everything in the game kind of hits for 6 or 7, right? Like Armor links, Kira links, Wing Gundam links. It's just not doing enough. The reason why this card was good is because you play it, it's a 4/4 stat line, which is kind of premium for this level cost, like Ale Strike. You can pair with anything, same thing with Rebuild, it pairs with anything, which is why I was seeing play in like the Freedom Blocker list with Aerial as a way to get Shrover's all back, which we'll talk about. And this card right here was I believe this card to be basically my Death Scythe. Where you play this, you link it, you swing into something, you kill it, right? You give it -3 AP, so either you take 0 damage, essentially gaining first strike, right? Or you reduce something's AP, so you swing into like your opponent's Ale Strike, for example, reduces AP, swing into it, kill it, take a few amounts of damage back, but they gotta swing something back into this, ultimately gaining like a card advantage, right? If they don't have a link, don't have a way to deal with this, you can also go unforeseen on top of it, and all of a sudden your opponent's like, damn, I can't get to the Gundam Aerial Rebuild because they -3 something, they unforeseen me, or there's something to my Ale Strike, they -6'd it, right? And all of a sudden it's like, damn, this thing really is a first strike, just takes a little bit more work, and only works, depending on how you can kind of, what workarounds you have, essentially. So that's why this card essentially isn't the best and saw limited play until if we can get a Sletta that has like +2 AP or maybe potentially +3 AP, this card will become a lot better because +3 AP, reducing your opponent's like Kshatriya -3, swinging into it and then like surviving it could be a big deal. And maybe we get a Sletta that says on attack, like a Kira effect, reducing AP, or on pair, reduce AP. If we can reduce our opponent's AP by like 6 and swing for 7, that'd be huge where this thing just doesn't take damage anymore. So look forward to this becoming a Death Scythe, view it as a Death Scythe, and it could be very useful, almost like Gundam Amuro, where Gundam Amuro swings into something small, not something big, and basically heals itself back up. Same thing with this card. You swing into an Angsha, you heal, you take 0 damage. Your opponent has to either link or trade 2 cards to deal with this card, right? Which is strong, and I played around with it. It's nice to have. And down the line, or even right now, this card can combo with cards like Giant Killing that's coming out. It can combo with cards like Vagon or Tewa's cards, where you pretty much can reduce your opponent's AP and then kill them. So don't sleep on this card. This card is valuable, and it is a starter deck card, which means, all the starter deck cards that we have currently, like Wing Gundam, Gundam in itself, or even Aegis Gundam, all these different Gundams wouldn't be as strong as they are if they didn't have a booster box to support. An Academy, unfortunately, so far has not gotten any support, but is going to receive support in GDO 4, which means once this Gundam, which is a starter Gundam LR, gets some support, we can actually see how to utilize this a lot more and how strong it potentially can be once we start seeing like more combo pieces that affect AP reduction, like Giant Killing and so on, and potentially ways that, we might get a Gundam down the line that says, if we reduce something's AP, deal damage to it instead. So all of a sudden a white-red Sletta deck could be like even potentially way more stronger than what it is right now. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but maybe we get a base that says when you reduce something's AP, reduce it by twice that amount or by an additional 1 AP, right? Something like this could be potentially powerful in the future, um, and it's cool. Okay, so ignoring these two other cards that I don't play in Academy or myself at the moment, because to make Academy more powerful, we kind of got to splash it with other colors rather than staying mono Academy. But you can 100% do it if you want to. Nothing wrong with it, but we're talking through a bunch of different things in this video. Now, the main problem with Academy is that it doesn't have a boss monster. The best boss monster in white, to be honest, until the new suppression Freedom Gundam comes out, from GDO 1 to GDO 2 and GDO 3 even, is Justice Gundam. It's a standalone unit. It's a level 7 unit. So if you're trying to go taller, Justice Gundam is the best thing. One, it's a 1 for 2. So it's a unit that is basically a show resolve. It gives you 2 bodies, which can help you swing twice into your opponent's shields and win you the game. It's a bigger unit, which is a 5/5, and it deploys you a blocker, which can help you with not playing your early game blockers that kind of get picked up, and you want to play your early game beaters instead and link up. And then Justice Gundam helps you keep your, keep up the pressure and then have the blocker for the late game rather than for the early game. So this card is excellent. It's another thing that has 5 AP, so it can get over 5 AP bases, or it can link with like Slutta and stuff and kind of go for 6 if you want to. So Justice was the top end for basically white in general until GDO 3 came out, where we now have access to like a lot more cards, a lot more boss monsters like G-Quox, uh, specifically, and like Kibeli even if you want to run that. But specifically like G-Quox is what is now considered to be like our top end boss monster. Ultron Gundam also works, Wing Zero, right? So this is the main card that I think every white deck should be running. You're even seeing Wing Gundams run Justice Gundam now. And which brings us to like, let's talk about our additional cards that we can run in Academy and why I'm not particularly running them. So Choo Choo's Demi Trainer. This is the card that you guys have seen played. I don't think this is a bad card, but because Ping and Blurple is all over the place, a 3/1 unit basically just dies way too quickly. And we lose card advantage. Academy doesn't really have a lot of ways to like get a lot of recursion and give us that advantage. And losing a unit on the board early means that our opponent's gonna have we don't have something to trade into our opponent's units, and if they can aggro us out, which is gonna suck for us. So Choo Choo Demi Trainer gets picked up relatively quickly. If you're trying to be really, really aggressive, this is a good card. It has a decent effect to go recycle your hand and discard those command cards and potentially go find your links and your early game units and play the game. Yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say about this. The 1 HP keeps it down. Otherwise, it is a good card if you go like first, for example, play this on turn 2, and then all of a sudden start swinging your opponent, taking out that EX base early on so that your other units can kind of go through and swing. I don't play this card for the 1 HP though. Next up, we're going to be talking about Darabald. Okay, this card is really good in GDO 1 and GDO 2, but again, the reason we've stopped playing it is because there's too much ping in the game. With all the ping coming out, we play this card, it gets pinged out relatively easily, or we attack our opponent's shield, and they have an easy way to like gun tank and adept us, and Darabald just dies. This card was a much more stronger card when all we had to deal with was a lot of Zaku tokens and Corsica Leo tokens, and we could deal with this, play this card, and when we were playing into blockers in particular, because we would swing a Darabald and they either take the hit or they sacrifice one of their blockers immediately. This card also links with any Academy unit, so we could link it to 6 AP and swing above a 6 HP base easily, or we can link it with Slutta, and all of a sudden they don't want to block this card anymore because they're not going to be able to kill it with Rick Diaz or even Lifrith. So they'll have to trade 2 units into it, which was really good for us. And we didn't mind if they're close combat Darabald in red. Red honestly doesn't really do too much to us. Like, oh yeah, go ahead and like close combat, trade close combat for Darabald. Totally fine with this 1-for-1 trade equal. It's when they start pinging us out and gaining card advantage over us that we really start to fall behind. Or we play Darabald and they have immediate interaction with it, and we're just giving them value, and Darabald just gets to die before it gets a swing, so we basically don't end up doing anything, which is why we rather play our, our 4 HP units in these two, or even Michaelis. over this card. So both these cards were relatively good. Darball was way better in GTO 1, GTO 2, until everybody started playing Ping, and now it's kind of dropped off completely. But as tokens come around, as you can play sideboards, do not sleep on Darball. It is a excellent card for Academy, and I played it throughout GTO 1, GTO 2 until recently. Okay, last two tech cards here. What I'm talking about is Kagali. If you want to play some more blocker package, or with Justice, excellent card. Not much else to say about this. Uh, can fill up your pilot count. Iron Fist Discipline. It's a pilot which links with everything. So if you're playing really aggressively, this is good. If you're playing the Chi-Chi Demi Trainer, this can make you go aggressive and then swing and deal damage, and then you can get pinged out afterwards. You'll lose your card advantage, but it is what it is. Arm Fist Discipline can also be a very good combat trick. Down the line, I'm sure we're gonna get more cards that link with, I can't even say her name, but Chichi basically, and this card will become more effective. I'm sure maybe down the line we'll get a, I don't know if we'll get a pilot for her fully, but this card is not bad. Okay, and you could play this card when you're playing into your opponent's like particular decks, like a very token based deck. This could be an excellent sideboard option, or into like 20 GM spam. This would be a good option to just reduce the amount of AP. Cool. Final card for bases. Kusanagi is one of the best bases. I won't talk about the other Academy bases here just because they do what they do. I don't really play them. I find Kusanagi is the best base for bouncing Zolwarts and blockers so you don't lose your own guys. And anything that survives or is a token, we can bounce and gain advantage over our opponent. And then on top of it, if our opponent's front aggro is down, Kusanagi allows us to stabilize, bounce their units, and then swing into the remaining units and keep up with them so we don't get overwhelmed too quickly, right? Also, like just in Corsica, Kusanagi's the best base, and does something. I prefer playing bases that actively do something when they come out of our shields on the opponent's attack, rather than just deploying it from our hand and then having to do something uh, requiring certain pieces like links and so on. So Kusanagi is very, very useful to always get value, and we can choose to play it from our hand to actually do something rather than just saying, I want to get this base out of my hand. Kusanagi actually has a good ability. A lot of people are going to comment like, hey man, we only have 4 HP. I'd rather run a 5 HP base or a 6 HP base. 6 HP bases are a lot nicer, but I'm going to be honest, like 80-90% of the time when your opponent swings at your base, it's going to die in one swing. So whether you have 4 HP or 5 HP usually is not going to matter at all. And sometimes 6 HP also doesn't matter. But 6 HP has a 50% chance of just actually taking 2 hits, while Kusanagi and a 5 HP base is always going to be one shot almost every single time. So I just play Kusanagi instead. Okay, that's all the Academy cards. Hopefully you guys are sticking along with me. Let's move past this and talk about what I think Academy's game design actually is at the moment with the cards we have available. What I view Academy as doing is playing a beatdown deck. What a beatdown deck is essentially is going to have our level 4 2-cost units like Rozelle's and our Michaelis's, so 3 3s, 4 3s, and 3 4s. Any of these stat lines are basically beatdown. Then we get into like level 5s, we start playing 5-4 beatdown. Basically vanilla units that have excellent stats, and they might cost 1 more than GMs do or 2 more than GMs do, but they have significantly more stats, right? So basically, whatever we would pay for like an NT Gundam, we delete all the abilities like repair and when paired ability. We don't even play the link possibly, but we reduce the cost of the card by a lot, by 2 basically, but we get the 4-4 stat line. So we get high stats with no abilities for low cost. Okay, and that's basically what we're aiming for. When we start playing a huge amount of these, we basically act like a aggro deck where they go GM, GM, GM. We can go bit form, bit form, bit form, or we can play bit form, Michaelis, and then let's say Darballs on our deck. We can also play Darballs. So all these cards have 2 cost. Playing as many 2 costs as possible is going to be really, really important for us. And having the ability to link and also having the ability to have Soletta stay on the board and then give us that extra resource back so we can keep playing more and more units, or playing like something like overflowing affection or keeping unforeseen incident up, um, or playing command cards if we're playing purple, like with Iron and Blood, so we can get our bases because they think, oh, we're gonna swing Michaelis to shields. They think, oh, we have a 60 base, we'll take it. All of a sudden, with Iron and Blood comes in, pumps it up, swings, we take out the base in one swing, and now they're all of a sudden like in trouble, right? So that's kind of what we're aiming for here, and how are we want to plan on doing that. So because we're playing a mid-range beatdown deck, we do not want to play level 8s. We do not want to play level 7s too much at all, period. Unless we're looking at like Justice Gundam, right? Because Justice Gundam is a standalone card. And yes, it's level 7, but it's a +1. So this could be our top end for a boss monster if we want it to be. If we're going to go down like a route where we want to be playing this in like more mono white. But if we want to go true beatdown, we don't have to play as many justices, or maybe we only play 2 justices. So if we draw it, we draw it. If we don't, no big deal, just like we would show resolves. And we are going to be playing other cards that are the same level cost as our Academy cards. So moving into red, okay, we have things like Aegis Gundam and Athranzala. This was and probably is one of the best ways to play Academy because it's literally like Soletta plus a 3/4 stat line, right? It's Bitform and Soletta. Same stats, same everything. We link up, we attack into our opponent's standing units, we breach through their blocker, and we start applying a lot of pressure. We have high stats, so we can't get wing zeroed, and they have to deal with us, which will take, effort and links and stuff, and so on. So Athranzala is the default. It also pairs very nicely because we're playing white with Justice Gundam, so we can apply a lot of pressure and go for that beatdown with the top end being a Justice Gundam, linking with Atherin, swinging twice and winning the game, almost like suppression. And in the mid game, we can start playing Aegis Gundam and applying a lot of pressure. Following up to Athranzala, we can also play the Burst package, which close combats to counter aggro, which a lot of us were doing in GDO 1, GDO 2, mostly in GDO 2. Playing a lot of the burst stuff, playing close combats, battle aces. So if they play a Wing Gundam, attack into our Aegis Gundam that's linked, kill it. All of a sudden, we can go battle aces, pick up the Wing Gundam link. Okay. Wing Zero, same thing. We lack the ability to swing up, and Athranzala still lacks that ability, which is why it works until it doesn't, because your opponent just plays blockers that have 6 HP, they play bases that have 6 HP, and they play unforeseens, and all of a sudden our entire strategy just breaks apart because we don't have more than like 4 or 5 attack, which is where Athranzala kind of falls apart and sucks. So we can play cards like BQ or other support pieces to kind of bump ourselves up and try to get over that threshold. But again, they can just play blockers out, block us, and deal damage, and eventually we'll run out of cards because we don't play cards like Show Resolve, and Wing Zero hits pretty much everything we play in the deck, and we're going to get gassed out by bigger units. So you could go down this route. This is an excellent route to go down, but unfortunately it's not there enough at the moment. If we get more cards for Atherin and Academy with Breach, like we're getting in GDO 4, with Gundam Pharax, and like lots of breaches, you can see how the Athranzala package with Breach or Shenlong package with Breach was a good identity for Academy, because that's literally what GDO 4 is trying to do. It's trying to play White Academy beatdown with bigger Gundam Pharax with Breach on them, so we can keep applying pressure, cap out level 6, and then try to overwhelm our opponent and win the game. Not through playing GMs and attacking like super aggro and cheesing them, because there very much is cheese where they don't even get to play the game. If you just drop GM and abuse like something that is completely flawed with Gundam right now, which is why aggro just keeps winning, and it feels like there's almost nothing you can do half the time, because honestly there's nothing you can do half the time. Doesn't matter if you play blockers or 6 HP bases or Wing Zeros, it just comes down to there's a flaw with the game, right? So we can see that we're on the right track here with Breach and applying a lot of pressure to our opponent and beatdown, which is great. Moving past the red part, because we're a beatdown deck, we don't want to play Cubellis and like these top end cards, because we're not trying to go to level 7 then win the game. Okay, we are trying to stay in that beatdown version of the deck at the moment. If you do go to like G-Quox level 8 and beatdown and stuff like this, you might as well play white red instead. And if you want to go tall, 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 you're gonna basically be moving away from what Academy wants to do. Okay, it doesn't want to go super tall. It wants to go mid-range. You can go tall with it and get to that point and start trading and linking your units to trade effectively on the board. That would probably be a more effective way to win if we had a lot of blue cards that were level 8, level 7 that were really, really strong. We don't really have that at the moment besides Unicorn and O, which would rest units and tack into them, and Siege Ploys. That's probably the route I would go if I'm trying to go tall. But then we can't play like G-Quux level red, right? So we're trying to go down a different route where by beating our opponent's units, we're going to play more cards that support the Academy archetype, like Gundam Pharax, the rare one that reduces the AP by 2, by playing the O. So we're like really trying to control the board at that point and understand what our deck's identity is and how it wins the game. And we have to build on top of something Academy is already doing. Okay, we don't want to play Academy and add it as a early game package to something completely different like Qbelly, G-Quux, and so on, where they're trying to suppression you go late game, but Academy really isn't doing that. We're just playing it just for fun, which is your right to do so, but in terms of like what Academy wants to do is not that. Last white card we want to talk about is Carter's Gray's Ritter. This is a awesome, again, something you can include into your deck. It's got the 5 AP that we want to take out bases. If our opponent swings into this, we can unforeseen them, which we play, and gain value off of this. Ultimately, eventually, our opponent will get the first strike value, unless we trade it into something before this thing gets picked up by our opponent. So this is a possible play. Okay. Now we're on that aggro track, so let's talk about aggro real quick. If you're gonna play like GTO 1 Academy aggro, okay, this is a stupid route to go because Academy does not want to go super fast aggro. It's literally only being like it's only gonna be allowed to play out that way and win a lot of games through cheese because it's just GM Amuro, right? You play a bunch of GMs, you play Amuro, you rest your opponent, you win the game. Doesn't matter what the hell else you're playing. That combination basically wins any game of Gundam most of the time, and that's what the aggro decks are doing. And it's not even about Amuro, it's about playing a bunch of one cost units and just running your opponent over because you played 6 cards, they played like 2 to 3 cards. Like, of course, you're going to win the game. They can only block so much, and they just kind of lose their shields. If they have a slow start, have no burst, so on, they're just going to lose. That's kind of what it comes down to, which is a huge flaw in the game design. So with blue, we're going to skip talking about Gundam Amuro, okay, with GMs. If you want to go down the beatdown route, Gundam Amuro still is a good option, just like Zex is a good option with Zex Leo and Tall Geese with Zex. Okay. Now you're gonna wonder like, so Amuro can rest something that allows us to attack interrupt one shields or attack into the unit, developing what we want to do with Academy, which is beat our opponent's units down with our more premium units or our abilities like repair or Zex giving us additional draw power and having the ability to manipulate the battlefield so that our Gundam Pharax can reduce the opponent's AP, kill something, and stay healthy and gain card advantage. That's another way that beatdown can go down and is very, very effective, and our opponent doesn't have too much to say about it. Now, if you play the Gundam Amuro side of it, just don't play GMs, okay? Accept the fact that you're trying to go mid-range and win the game on turn 6, 7, 8, and through value, not because you cheese your opponent and win the game on turn 5 with the GMs. Okay, if you want to go down the route and just win, accept the fact that that's not what Academy's trying to do. That is a flaw with the game, and you can 100% do that, and you will win a lot of games. Just, GM, Amuro, GG's, you win. Who cares? But as the game develops, down the road, Academy is not trying to aggro your opponent down in any way. So we're not going to talk about that anymore. So that's where Gundam Amuro comes into play. That's where gun cannons can also be very, very useful. With Amuro, resting units, putting Stiletto onto it, making it a 3-5, and start eating up your opponent's units, controlling the board into aggro in particular, and overcoming them is very useful. This is where cards like Siege Ploy come into play, and resting your opponent's units so Gundam Pharax can act. Siege Boy is one of the most best universal cards in blue to come out of your burst and rest your opponent's unit. They want to swing into our shields, and we go, okay, they play Gundam Amuro, they swing their GM into our shields, right? They rest one of our units. On attack, we Siege Boy the Gundam Amuro. Now they can't eat up our Gundam Ferrac. They're like, oh shit, I didn't realize you were playing Siege Boy. Now they're they have a problem basically. And now we can swing our own units into the Gundam Amuro, kill it, or get more value out of our other units without it being traded for free. And we can't do too much about it. So great thing here. If they hit a base, all of a sudden their attack completely stops because the Gundam Amuro is tapped, and their 2/2s will not take out our base in time. Okay. So very good card. Was the original counter to aggro decks that aggro decks played so that they could cheese out the matchups or had to be careful around Siege Boy. If you guys have not played Siege Boy recently, I would suggest putting 1 or 2 into your decks. Get a feel for this. It's an excellent card in any deck you want to play that's a blue. Very versatile. And you could say, well, why don't I just play Amuro? Well, the reason you don't play Amuro is because Amuro does not activate from burst, saving you 1 HP or 1 shield. And also, Amuro cannot be played in the action step, and so you can't like manipulate what your opponent's trying to do or react to something that your opponent is doing, like the Gundam Amuro. So very useful card. A few other cards I want to talk about is Raider Gundam and Forbidden Gundam and the Pilot, right? These cards are useful tech cards you could play to rest. Now again, we're level 5 here. We can put CPU Pilot. It can rest opponent's blockers. We can eat them up or swing at their shields and find a way to get across. They're also really, really healthy stat lines of being 4/4, so Wing Zero doesn't kill us. If Wing Zero drops on the board or any amount of ping damage, Raider Gundam gives us additional card advantage, so we can basically keep up with the ping, like Blurple and other like Lupus decks and Wing Zero decks. And Forbidden Gundam is a blocker, which allows us to play additional blockers alongside Justice or any other blocks that we want to play, and also does not take damage from level 2 or lower units. So you can kill like tokens and Corsica tokens and GMs and still stick around. So they can't just ping you off, and they got to work harder for it. Another viable option. Rizal, another beat stick like I talked about. Short Resolve is a good option if you're trying to play a couple of these, play rebuilds, get them back. It's fine, of course, like, or just including them because you're playing blue, so you can kind of stay on the gas, gain card advantage on your opponent, since Academy by itself doesn't really have it, but it kind of builds some value through having high HP. Zax with Tallgeese. Sleda is one of the cards that really plays well with Tallgeese because you put it on the Tallgeese. Now when you attack, effectively turning Tallgeese's ability into only costing 3, which is a lot more viable to do, and you can basically shotgun your opponent with 2 swings at once and win the game. If you already have multiple Sledas on the board, let's pretend we have 2 Sledas on the board and everything's fine, we can basically play the Tallgeese, play the Zex, we can attack with our Sledas, get resources back, and then swing with the Tallgeese, and you know, we only need 2 resources now to reset the Tallgeese because of the Sledas. So as we get more cards that reset our resources, or maybe in the future we get more cards that work like Tallgeese, we're gonna find a lot of value coming out of that. And around turn levels, like turn 6 if Tallgeese sticks around, is an excellent way to, like, you know, I played like a shotgun Tallgeese deck where, yeah, I would play Tallgeeses, I would go super wide, and I would go Tallgeese, 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 putting Sledas on each of the Tallgeeses, and then resetting them and swinging over and over again. One thing to note about Tallgeese is when you reset it, you do not need to attack with it again, so your opponent basically cannot interact with the Tallgeese, which is very useful. The other Tallgeeses, right here, we have this thing called Zex Leo, which on pair with anything can rest your opponent's 3 or less AP unit, which combos with Gundam Ferrax and just attacking into things. Playing a Zex is another way for us to kill something and get card advantage, like killing a Lifrith or a blocker that they blocked with, or Rig Diaz. Yes, we will trade with them, but we will also get a card. It equals 5 attack power, so this is a very good way of killing L-Strike, for example, and then drawing a card. It's really good at killing Lifriths and then getting a card back. And it's a quick link. Tallgeese, same thing against aggro decks in particular. This becomes a 5/5, which is an excellent stat, and now you can just start eating up your opponent's units. If they attacked you, Tallgeese swings, eats up a GM, rests the Zaku 2 that they just played, and then Gundam Ferrax can go eat it up and you can build a lot of value with this. So that's really, really good. Okay, I'm currently playing the Zex version because Zex is like an underrated pilot that doesn't see a lot of play, and you can see all these cards like level 5 cap, which means Academy is also level 5 cap for the most part. So we just kind of like cap out level 5 and we go really, really aggressive on our opponent. We have more level 3 level or cost 3, cost 2 cards, so we can play multiple bodies and have a really good time. If they play Rick Diaz's, we can get around Rick Diaz's with Zex Leo. If they have Striker Pack tokens or anything like that, we can basically rest a lot of stuff. And if they're trying to go wide with GMs and stuff like this, Zex Leos are a great way of resting their cards, so we can keep eating them away. And then Zex keeps us getting value, and then they have to kind of trade into Zex to basically ensure that we don't just keep eating up units and drawing more cards. Also works with Unforeseen Incident, which is cool. So that's enough for the blue talk. Finally, NT1 is a good way if you're playing Amuro. Want to go taller. Don't play Show Resolves. Just play NT1 Gundam. They're going to try to trade into us. We can swing into them. Ping it off. Draw 1, +1. And great. You basically got the same effect as Show Resolve. I basically have not been playing Show Resolve in any of my blue decks because I'm trying to fit in NT1 Gundams. And Show Resolve is just too slow. I rather like attack the board, play a bunch of stuff, especially now that we got more cards and people are playing a lot of different decks. You want to go beatdown mode on your opponent to beat up the red-blue decks or the red-white decks if you can, especially red-blue in particular. And you need to react to clan and some of the other, like, for example, Academy, same thing. You need to be able to play bodies and interact with the board. You can't just go Show Resolve past. Your opponent's going to be playing bodies on bodies and bodies. You will just lose the game. So NT1 Gundam is basically my Show Resolve now. It's really, really good. I play 4 copies in some decks, especially like Earth Federation or anything that play, like, for example, like right now the Blurple decks play 2 Show Resolves, 2 NT1 Gundams. Like you could literally go to 3 NT1 Gundams or 4 NT1 Gundams and just start drawing a lot of card advantage through NT1 rather than playing Show Resolve and wasting your turn, drawing some more cards and just playing another body. Finally, you could play Psycho Gundam because it caps at level 6. This could be your premium top end because you're not going to be playing like any level 7s besides maybe Justice, but you could even cut Justice to go, okay, I don't need Justice Gundam because Psycho Gundams and 4 are going to get me more card advantage. And so with that card advantage, I can play more cards continuously over and over again. And Psycho Gundam can be a top end, and it has Breach, which will help you in, again, beating your opponent's face in and ending the game. Those are the blue cards. Moving on, let's talk about a few more white cards here quickly. So we talk about GMs. We don't want to be playing as many GMs as you want to go super aggressive. If you are having a lot of trouble with aggro, you can include, let's say, maximum 4 2/2s to try and go aggro on your opponent. But I would not suggest that you go like more than 5. Like play 5 GMs, be a little bit aggressive, have some sort of early game if you feel like you need a little bit more early game. But don't go down like having 8, 10, 12 GMs. At that point, you're just playing an aggro deck. You're just going to win through like cheesing your opponent. Right? If you want to play an aggro deck, just play the meta decks. If you want to play Academy aggro, you can do it. But that's not what Academy's trying to do, in my opinion. So we're not going to play this card. Let's talk about blockers and why I hate them. Okay? So you can play blockers with Academy. A lot of you guys probably are, because it's white and blockers and Kira, Ale Strike, all this stuff is like, oh, to strive against aggro, you got to play blockers. Guys, aggro still beats blockers. It's why it's the best deck in the game and why all the O decks and wing decks just keep losing to this. This strategy doesn't really work, right? You can blocker up and play all the blockers and kind of win the game through that, but then you're not really winning the game through Academy cards. You're just winning the game because you're playing all these blockers. So let's skip all that stuff except for this card called the Striker Pack. Because this card is a command card, we can get back with Rebuild. It's something that comes out of Burst. So this is like one of the best cards in white, just like Justice Gundam, which is why we would play this. Not because we're trying to play blockers, but because this is a blocker, but also a 2-cost body that we're trying to play, right? The 4/2 resource management here. So we're trying to play this card. On top of this, it can come out of shields, which basically gives us a free unit, not to block, but to aggro our opponent out. or take good traits. So it's a +1 out of shields for free. We get to play a free body, +1, get the card advantage. We can bring it back with commands. Also, Overflowing Affection, we can discard this from our hand to funnel our Michaelis, which is why this is good. If this is just a Lifrith, I don't want to play Lifrith. I want to play a command card to work with the synergy of Academy. Kira is a card you can play for the -2. Don't do it. Move past this card. Thanks. Okay, Naval Bombardment. If you're going to go down the blocker route, play this card. It makes all your blockers hit a lot harder. And now you're basically utilizing blockers as a aggressive tactic rather than a defensive tactic. If you're going down that road basically, that route, go ahead and do it. Now you have a strategy of not doing the blockers to survive aggro, although you could do that. You're more using Naval Bombardment as a way to kill Gundam Armors when they swing into your blockers, and as a way to aggro your opponent out where they think they'll survive, but they won't, and they want to play slow into you because you have blockers, and all of a sudden you become the aggressor against the aggro decks, and now they have to retaliate to your board because you are the aggressor, and they are now trying to play control against you because you've already established board control. You're getting to the mid game, you're going to spike a lot faster, and they've left their shields exposed. So Naval Bombardment is a good card for that. Play this in blocker decks if you haven't. And then we're going to move past all these blockers. Not going to talk about those. Sword Strike, if you're going to play Kira. Kira is a beatdown person. So let's go back to Kira. Actually, I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but quickly, Kira is a beatdown deck. And Kira is trying to beat your face in. Just like the new Freedom Gundam coming out is trying to beat you down. There is no, like, you know, crazy late game Kira cards. And if the level 8 ones they revealed in GDO 3 and gave us for like uncommon cards that really try to control the board, bounce cards, and they're not like crazy cards like Wing Zero or anything that's like the O trying to control the board too much in terms of like resting and stalling the game out. Most of the Kira cards are played, and we've all lost to Kira decks like this, where they start beating you down. They start playing Sword Strikes, they start getting a lot of value off of it, start bouncing your guys, tempo. So Kira is a very much of a beatdown tempo control deck, not a control, but tempo deck that will start aggressing you out. And if you're going to go down this route, start playing Ail Strikes and a lot of bounces. You'll win the game through that. But I would not play this combo in Academy. Not because it's not trying to do what the Academy is trying to do, but as soon as you add Kira to the deck, you have to add a bunch of blockers to the deck. And then you're going to start to win the game not through the Academy side of it more so, but through the Kira side mostly. It's going to do a lot of heavy lifting for you, and the blockers, which we want to try to stray away from and craft our deck particularly to play more of the beatdown version and do less blocking overall. Okay, Unforeseen Incident. This is kind of a staple in Academy decks because it can keep our bases alive. It can gain us more value if they try to trade into us, and it's a command card, so we can get it back with the rebuild or just play it. So that's white. Okay, green. This is where we start getting a lot of different stuff. So if you want to go down the green route, Fortress Defense is our Corsica base. By the way, if you're playing blue, you're playing Corsica base. End of story. Fortress Defense is our Corsica base, and this is a good card that we can just play as a 2-for-1. Yes, it gets pinged out. Yes, it gets G-fretted or all range attacked, but it's still a 2-for-1. Level 5, 2 cost only, so it plays into our curve of like playing a lot of 2s really well. Even Wing Gundam cards that are playing more beatdown have tried to play this because, again, we can just kind of get to level 5, play a couple of these, and then just try to go wide and kill our opponent because their shields are already low from all of our other cards, and we'll just get there to finish it off. Then we move into things like Breach, Rigdam. We know why this card is good. Don't need to talk about it. Then we talk about options of if we're going to go down like Hero UV and the Wing Gundam Ultron routes. Okay, so all these cards like level 4, level 5, right? So we have 2 different versions of Roselle, each linked with different units. I understand that Wing Gundam is a level 5 unit, which nobody plays this card really. But once we get to level 5, guys, we can still play multiple 2-cost units, and especially with Soletta activated. We can play like 3 of these no problem and kind of just drop our whole hand and go from there, and our opponent's going to kind of like get aggroed out at that point and have a really big burst of just like, hey, are your shields too low? I'm going to drop my whole hand. Can you deal with this or not? if you're trying to deal with my board, there's just too much coming your way. I'm going to keep playing bodies on bodies on bodies, and you'll get aggroed out. So you better be careful on how you block and how you play the early few turns, and um, what you kind of like. People aren't going to be used to playing against a beatdown version of the deck, especially into things like red blue or red decks in general. If they're playing a red deck, guys, they only have so many improved techniques in their deck, right? There's 4 copies. They only have so many like Q bellies in their deck. They can't ping everything off, even if it has 3 HP. So we can play multiple 3 HP bodies and do a lot of work. If we link these cards, they're like 5 HP at that point. They're not gonna die. If we link Wing Gundam here with Hero Yui, it's swinging for 7. Like it can actually go and kill something really big like the O, establish board control, trade, swing into their 6 HP bases, take it out. It's really, really powerful. Then we go into Death Sight. It's an early game link, and it becomes a 5/5. It can be reduced by AP, so like really good into like Kira and into like unforeseen incidents. We can play around it. You can play Death Sight if you want, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Because it's a little bit going level 6 with Death Sight is a little bit too high. When I like kind of live around the level 5 area. Heavy Arms links with all the hero cards. So if you do want to add in like a bunch of different hero links or a couple of different like pilots from G Team, Operation Meteor link right here. You can link with anything you want, and it helps you like has the DOP effect. So you can look at the top card, put it at the top or the bottom. Once we do that, we basically are playing like almost like clan. We're gonna have a much more better average curve. Not crazy, but our base, we can also use the academy base where we look at the top 2 cards, put one to the top, one to the bottom. It's a 5 HP base. It can basically help us be a lot more consistent in what we're trying to do and kind of like streamline our offense and our links. So Heavy Arms is great for that. It's another like, 3-4 stat line. I don't like it for the 3 costs that it has, but it can link with any other Operation Meteor card, and you can go down this route if you wanted to play, Wing with Academy. You don't need to play Wing Zeros. You don't need to play like Ultrons and stuff like this fully. And if you are going to play, so Shenlong is a great card for Shang Fei. Ultron, you 100% could play. And if Cyborg become available, it is a good card for Cyborgs as well. You just have to understand that once you play like Shenlong and Ultrons, I suggest that if you're going to go down like a more top-end route, you start playing 4 Striker Packs and 4 Lifrits and just 8 blockers, and that's kind of it, just to help you get through the early game sometimes, or blocker up just a little bit. Justice Gundam can help there. And that's when you can also add like either Ultrons, or you can add in things like G-Quuxes, level 8s, and I've got those deck links in the description and stuff, so check those out there. Anything more against aggro is Zaku 2 is going to basically be a really good aggressive card. You can play this if you want to go aggro with green. It's cool. Wing Gundam Bird Mode is a really good card if you're trying to go down like Hero Yui and more Wing Gundams, Heavy Arms, Wing Gundam itself because it has Breach from the starter deck, right? All those cards can be included with Hero Yui, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, Hero Yui links with all these cards. It's a 2/1 pilot, which is great, and it makes all your guys like really, really, really strongly statted. And then because you're playing bird mode, it ramps you. So now you're level 7 and level 8s. Even level 6s, you'll be getting there so much faster that level 6 becomes level 5. Level 5 becomes level 4. Like, it's a lot of value. And because you have Soletta who can reset your resources, you might never have to use your EX resources. So you can keep playing like bigger cards, or utilize the EX resource to play a bunch of cards on like turn 6, for example. You have like, you play this on turn 3. You went second, so you go from like 4, you get an EX resource, you go to 5, your turn starts, you go to 6. Now you drop 3 different bodies that cost 2, and it's going crazy after that point, okay? You can possibly link a bunch of things as well with Slutters because they refund themselves when they're played, and be really, really aggressive like that. Your opponent might get caught off guard. It's really good, and you gotta have fun playing Wing with Sletta. I think it's pretty useful. Those are all the colors except for purple. Now, there's 2 things I want to talk about purple. Okay. There's Fatal Strike, which was our answer to getting around blockers, which was great. It kills a lot of things that are linked, like first forms. So we don't have to sacrifice our own units into it, and we can kind of gain value off of this. Awesome. It pings 1 to something, so our lower attack power units can kind of get over it. It can kind of ping a lift wrist, so they might not want to block our Machillis with it. Helps us with that. So Fatal Strike is an excellent include. If you want to, Iron and Blood is the other best option because we lack AP. It helps us gain that AP value, especially if you're going like a very heavy down the Academy side. This card could be really, really good. And then, guys, the reason I'm not going to talk about purple too much is because if you add in like the best packages in the game, which is like basically, the Kira blocker package um or the Gundam Amuro package, like just go super aggro into your opponents with GMs, or you add in like the purple package, which is like Mikazuki and all the pink cards, you're basically playing a purple deck, which is carrying your deck. You're playing a Gundam Amuro deck, which is carrying your deck. You're playing a Kira blocker deck, which is basically carrying your deck. Those archetypes are so strong by themselves and operate really, really well into the game that if you had added anything to it, is this going to supplement it? And the Kira, the Amuros, and the Mikazuki, like purple side, is going to win you the game. It's not going to be Academy that's going to be doing too much work. It's a nice supplement if you want. You can play a certain style with it, and it's totally fine if you do it. But I'm just saying, like, once you go down that route, you kind of just accept that, okay, well, this is so good. And I'm not saying it's a wrong thing to do. It is a good thing to do. But it's really, really obvious what you put into the deck. And I made a whole packages video talking about it. So go check out that if you guys want to learn about packages and what those packages could include. I made a whole long ass, like, hour and whatever long video about that in my on my channel. So go check that out. As we move into GDO 4, we're gonna see a lot more cards. Just understand that Academy is a beatdown deck at the moment. It's probably gonna be moving towards that with the new green cards with Breach and some sort of command mixed in there. We're probably not gonna get to like level 8, level 9, level 10 cards. At the moment, we're kind of just living around the level 7 cap, where we try to play a lot of early game cards, a lot of highly statted units, beat our opponent's units in, trade really effectively, get resources to play more cards than our opponent does quicker, and then we utilize whatever other package we want to supplement that play style, whether it be a lot more breach, whether it be a lot more interaction with our opponent's units, so we can get the AP reduction and keep gaining more value, whether it be cards that give our units a lot more AP so that we can kind of just like swing a lot higher like purple wants to do, because currently purple does two things. It wants to like make your small guys really, really big, and it wants to ping a lot, right? So those two things, and it obviously wants to revive cards from the grave. If you want to do that, you also can. First form is a great option to just swing, revive it back, keep going, and so on. One thing I want to comment about at the end here is we're getting the new starter deck in like 2 weeks. The new freedom that is coming out in that starter deck is very powerful. And that is when I'm talking about like level 5, level 6 cap, right? In terms of like being a beatdown deck. You kind of want to cap your deck out around like the Sinanju level, where Sinanju is also trying to play a lot of bodies and swing at your opponent's shield, time maneuver, ping some stuff, build some value, but it's not like crazy strong like Kibeli with suppression or is later into the game. Level 6 is kind of the cap for mid range. Level 5 ideally, but level 6 is the cap. Level 5 is where it starts. Level 6 is kind of where it ends. Level 7 is really where it ends, but kind of like where late game starts. Level 7, level 8. So what we want to do is play Kira. We want to play the suppression unit that's coming out. We have bases that are going to be up because we're playing aggressively into our opponent. And once we have the suppression unit and our opponent gets low, they're going to have to be very careful that if we swing the Kira into their shields and they lose 2 shields, it's a chunky unit. They might just fall behind and lose the game right there. So I want you to keep your guys out on that starter deck. Pick up the Kira package or the more aggressive side of the Kira with like maybe Sword Strikes, Kira, Freedom Gundam from GDO 3, because when you're going offense in your opponent, all of a sudden they can't just swing at your shields. They gotta kill the Freedom, so it slows them down, acting almost like a taunt base for us. And then the new Freedom, which just says, hey man, if you're low on shields, I can suppression you and just go for game really quickly on turn 6. It's same thing with purple, with the 4th form Barbados, can just swing at the shields turn 6 and be very, very explosive. Those two units that are level 6 suppression work really, really well with decks that want to go not super quick into your opponent, like Armor Ray and all this bullshit. You want to be going beatdown mode where your opponent is trying to deal with the board and having a hard time with your highly static units, and you're controlling the game so that you can eat up your opponent's GMs and gain a value, and then you start suppressing them, and you come back on the back end of the game on turn 6 with like basically a power play where it's like you thought you were safe, but you start losing double the amount of shields than you're used to, and all of a sudden you have to now try to out tempo me before the game ends all of a sudden, because of that. So I would keep my eye on that. If you guys like this video, bit tired. I've been coaching a bunch this week, getting this video out a little bit later than I intended to. If I missed on anything, if there's any combos that you like to talk about, if there's any decks that you like want covered, let me know in the comments. If you guys didn't enjoy this or thought I could have done a better job, let me know in the comments of how and what you guys wanted to hear about. And maybe this was drawn out, talking about too many things all at once, or I missed something really, really important. Let me know as well. Make sure you guys like and subscribe and support me. I'll be keeping an eye on how my videos are doing and trying to improve my work on these different type of videos. And if you guys would have preferred this particular video with EX Burst as the screen, or as how I did it this way with all the cards. I don't own all the purple cards because they're kind of expensive right now, and I don't own all the cards in general still, because the Star Decks 1 through 4 haven't been restocked yet, so I couldn't show those on screen if you guys are wondering why. But let me know. Thanks. I'll see you guys on the next one.